go. So we're gonna get right into it. So we had a couple questions come in. One about stretching. So I'm gonna answer those, start the live stream off with that. So first question was about stretching the tricep from its shoya. I believe that's how they pronounce their name. So they asked about stretching all three heads of the tricep. So if you don't know, you actually have three parts of that tricep muscle that runs on the back of your arm. And one of them is called the long head of the tricep, which is the hardest one to actually get. So that's the one we're gonna focus on today. So for stretching that, we'll stretch all three. The hardest one is the long head. So to do that, you'll need a towel, or I'm gonna be using a stretch strap, but you can do it just as easily with the towel. So using that towel, what we're gonna do is you're going to reach around and grab it behind your back, okay? So we're stretching this arm that's up in the air. So the way we stretch that long head of the tricep is actually by lifting that elbow up. So you're going to pull down with this bottom hand till you feel a stretch in your tricep in the top arm. So you feel a stretch along here. That muscle runs all the way from your elbow down into your shoulder. So holding that stretch. And that should get all three of the tricep heads. So you've got the medial head, lateral head, and long head. So the medial, lateral, and long head. And the long head goes all the way down into your shoulder. And then make sure you do it on both sides. So elbow stays high, grabbing behind, and then pulling down, feeling a stretch in that elbow, all the way down into your shoulder. So the next question we had was, someone was doing the levator stretch. I think their name was Stone, was doing the levator stretch where we turn and look down to stretch in your levator, but they were saying they were feeling it more in the front of the neck. So for that, that's more the sternocleidomastoid, which is a big piece of muscle that runs, sort of creates a V shape in the front of the neck. And for that, that controls turning and going forward. So if they felt it when they turned their head, it's probably this muscle right here. The way we want to stretch that is by turning and then just gentle pressure on your cheek, feeling a stretch right here in your neck. So you don't have to really push hard on this one because you want to be delicate with your neck, but just gentle pressure can help stretch out that neck, feeling it right here in the front of your neck in that V. And then same thing on the other side. Now it's important on this one, keep your chin up. If your chin comes down, you're actually reducing the stretch on that. We want to keep the chin up and just gently turn our head. And hold that for 20-30 seconds. So that will actually stretch that sternocleidomastoid, that V-shaped muscle right here in the front of your neck. A lot of times that gets tight, especially if we're looking down a lot, and it can tense up, and then actually pull your head forward. So we're stretching it out to keep that neutral head up posture. So if you have any questions or comments, things you want to know, let me know in the comments. I'm going through just a couple stretches on what we started with tricep, going to sternocleidomastoid. We're going to show one for now, the bicep, which runs across the front of the shoulder down into the middle of the elbow. And then also we're going to stretch some of the wrist with this one too. So what you're going to do is, it's on your hands and knees. And from here, you're going to take your hands and point them backwards to face towards yourself. Now, if this is too intense, you can do one hand at a time so you're not putting all of your body weight on it. If you're able to though, you can do both hands at the same time. From here, straightening your elbows, you should feel a stretch across the front of your arm right in here and the front of your wrist. So we're stretching both those at the same time. Again, if you need to, one hand at a time is just fine. Just do one hand and then switch to the other one. if you can't do full pressure, because it can be a little bit intense, especially on that wrist. So if you, and that will stretch your bicep all the way up into the shoulder and all through your wrist. It's a great post-exercise stretch. How about you guys? What area do you feel like, oh man, I'm tight in a particular muscle group, especially in your upper body? This won't help you defeat, it's true. I mean, Superman has some unfair advantages on that. No, definitely won't, so this won't help you defeat Superman, Mr. Luther. I don't think there's much hope of that in any regard. No amount of exercise is gonna get you to beat Superman. But still think it's a good idea. Shoulder. So are you saying the side of the shoulder, or more in the back, more in the front? Neck, Philip Kelp says neck. So one that I like for the neck, and actually this goes into some of the shoulder as well if you're saying the top of the shoulder, is you can take 2 fingers, put them on either side of your ear. So you've got 2 fingers here, 2 fingers here, so you have even pressure. And then you're just gonna gently pull to the side, feeling a stretch in your neck along here, all the way down into the top of your shoulder, back of the shoulder. Okay, we'll get to that in just a second then. So this is for the neck and shoulder, top of the shoulder. And then you can do the same thing on the other side, holding 20 to 30 seconds. Now for the back of the shoulder, so I have a degree in exercise science. I have a bachelor's of science in kinesiology, exercise science. So for back of the shoulder, what you can do is grab onto a door frame. So, or any sort of post will do, but a door works just fine, door frame. And then what you're gonna do is turn the opposite direction, feeling a stretch across the back of your shoulder. So you're actually pulling this arm in and across your body till you feel that stretch across the back of your shoulder. And hold that for 20-30 seconds. There should be no pain, just a light tension feeling. And that's stretching all these muscles back in here. You've got the rhomboids and the middle traps. So you're stretching across. Sure, I have lower back pain on the left side. When I lift my lower back, keeping my butt on bed, mid-back in the bed, sharp pain. So if you have sharp pain, so you might have a pinched nerve or things like that. And if you do, you probably want to get that checked out. If it's really sharp, we don't want to play around with nerves. So I would encourage you to get checked out if you're in that much pain. Usually exercise is more trying to prevent that from happening. If you're already having pain, I would definitely see someone who specializes in low back pain. I wouldn't want to give you something and then make it, because sometimes exercise when there's already pain can make it actually worse. It's more preventative. So something that let's see, low back pain on the left side, and lift your lower back. So when you're coming up like this, keeping in mid-back on bed. I'm just thinking about that for a moment. Hang on. Oh, you're saying you lift your lower back when you're laying down? A lower back warm-up. Yeah, we could, let me show you a press up. So something you can do for the low back is press up onto your arms and then back down. So you're not holding any sort of stretch, but you're moving the low back through its full range of motion and then back. So this gets those joints to rock back and forth So it gets them some motion into that joint, because that acts like a sponge where it pulls in nutrients from around it as it moves. So what you can do to warm up is just rock up and down, gain that low back to be able to move so there's no stiffness in the joints. And now if you can't go all the way up, that's fine. Start low and then build up to that as you're able to. Especially if you have a stiff low back, that's a good start. Hey, welcome, love from India, appreciate it. What time is it there? It's gotta be pretty late, right? Jaw, that's a good one. I actually don't know that many for the jaw. You could do, yeah, that's actually a good question. I'm not sure about the jaw. That is a little bit specialized. I mean, you could take your fingertips and rub back and forth if you have a stiff jaw. If you wanted to sort of go across the muscle fibers, just gently with your fingertips. But aside from that, that's a pretty specialized area. Thank you. So Mini Joker says, oh my gosh, your head is shiny and clean. Thanks, I appreciate that. Do my best. Keep my hair short. So Province, hopefully I'm not mispronouncing your name, says yes, it's 2:43 a.m. That's really early in the morning. So Sober Max says, a few years ago I worked over my shoulder powerlifting, and now I get some pain when benching, sometimes even doing lat pull downs. So if you do get pain in that, what you might try is actually working some of the rotator cuff muscles. Let me grab something real quick. So the bench press and lat pull down are both internal rotators. So you want to also strengthen your external rotators, the muscles that go this way, so that they're balanced. Those muscles are actually what hold your shoulder together. So an exercise you could try is putting your hand right at your belly button, and I would recommend doing this with either a band or cables work too, where it's right at belly button height. And from here, you're gonna rotate out and away, keeping your elbow right where it is, just rotating from the shoulder. And that will strengthen these muscles back in here. That might help out if you still have pain, or if the pain it gets worse with that. I would definitely go get that checked out, because you might have something more serious going on there. Especially if those muscles already are torn a little bit, then that's something you're gonna have to go see a doctor for. But it might be just if those muscles aren't engaging correctly, some exercise might do them some good. Mini Joker says it's 23:15 here in South Africa. So what is that, 11:15, I think? Wow, it is also late at night. I don't know about that. I don't have any plans to come to India, but thank you. It says, Provence says, come to India and I'll show you around. I appreciate the offer. We'll have to see. How to strengthen mid-back. So a lot of good exercises for that. One of them, if you're looking for a body weight exercise, I call this a thoracic cross. Let me know if you have a different name for it. So you're gonna go onto your elbows, and from here, you're going to lift up, pinching your shoulder blades together, and then back down, and then alternate. So it's engaging the muscles between your shoulder blades, pinching them together. And then as you get more comfortable, you can go up higher, up onto your hands. So that's the way for body weight. You could also do a thumbs pointed in row. So if you're down here, you get more of the lats. If you're looking for more upper back, pointing your thumbs more in, get more of that middle trap. Really engaging between the shoulder blades and upper back area. And for dumbbells, same sort of deal. So if I'm doing a row, if I turn the dumbbell so it's parallel, lifting up to the back, that'll get more of that upper in the middle trap and upper trap. If you want to emphasize up there, if you want to get more into the lat, having it perpendicular, pulling up to your waist. Provence, so asked, do I have an Instagram account? So I don't have an Instagram account, but if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, all of the things I do are here right now. So if you want to know more, that would be the way to do it. So right now I'm doing live streams, and mostly live streams and vertical shorts. How do you do upper lats? So lats, if you really want to get that upper region, when you're doing a lat pull down, you really want to let the arm come up and then pull all the way down into it, because that's what's really going to let this open up and expand here. So if you're doing this with cables, pulling down, or if you have, I don't have a bar with me, but if you have a bar that you're pulling, you really want to let that come all the way up to really open up those lats and then come down. So really work on that top range. So, oh, thank you for subscribing. Provence, Tiawari. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm sorry if I am not. So optimal warm up for upper body workout and lower body. So there's a lot of ways to warm up. And so optimal is really what's optimal for you and what you want to do. So if you want, I would take the muscles you're doing in that day and try and have a movement that mimics what you're doing. So if you're doing weighted squats, so if you're doing, big heavy bar squat, maybe start out unweighted or just a light dumbbell, do a couple squats, get that body warmed up, doing the same type of movement. So same thing applies for upper body and lower. If you're so if you're working a particular muscle, I'd try and mimic the same movement. If you're doing curls, maybe do a lighter dumbbell curl or a reduced weight curl to start out with to get some blood flow into the muscles first. So 30% weight. So if you're doing 3 kilograms, do 1 kilogram, or whatever poundage, drop it down to a third. Don Murphy says, yes, yes, brother, thank you very much. Glad you're here. Appreciate it. I'm not sure what you're referencing. No, you're not, but it's all right. All right. So one thing I would say, for going back to the optimal workout question for upper body or lower body, I would recommend not doing held stretches as a warm-up. I know some people do that. It tends to limit your muscle's ability to, muscle's strength, because you've actually changed the length of it and it takes time for that to readjust. So I wouldn't recommend static stretching as a warm-up. Anything you do, I'd make sure it's a movement through a range of motion. So if you're doing legs, for instance, you could start with a pendulum swing. So I'm not doing a held stretch, but I'm just swinging my leg through the range of motion. So I'm getting blood flow into the muscles in the front and back of my leg and thigh, or hip and thigh. And then some in the side plane as well, going back and forth. So I'm getting it the inside of my leg and outside of my hip, into the gluteus medius and into the adductors. You have your right hand wrist pain sometimes. Any relief or exercise? So if it's painful up here, or if it feels like it's tense, something you could do is actually bring your hand down and then just gently pull on the wrist. As long as there's no pain in doing this, it should feel just light tension. And then as you release it, it should actually feel relieving. If it's in tension in these tendons. Same thing with the other side, stretching in here. You can grab your hand and pull towards yourself, feeling a stretch along the bottom of your wrist, and holding that for 20 to 30 seconds and see if that helps relieve some of that. If you have tension in your hand, sometimes that can help, or discomfort from that tension. Something you can do is actually also push into that and then relax into a stretch, and then push and relax into a stretch. So you're creating a little bit of muscle resistance using the other hand. It's gonna be a little harder to do that this way, but you're gonna push up and then back, and then up and then back, and just gently stretch it. So, thank you guys for your questions. I'm gonna call it a day here. Hope to see you guys next week. And thank you everyone for our new subscribers.